So this is crazy. There's a new ride-sharing company that's letting drivers keep 100% of their fares. And they might just be able to take on Uber. Let's talk about it. So according to the founder of the company, this platform has been met with a ton of enthusiasm by both passengers and drivers. And that's totally understandable. Currently, Uber is taking 25% of the fare from drivers. This is probably one of the biggest things that drivers are constantly complaining about, whether it's on the Uber platform or the Lyft platform. Uber is taking so much out of these fares. The fares are getting smaller and smaller, and it makes it very hard to be profitable as a driver. So when we see alternative options pop up like this, we have to consider how this could grow, how it could scale to a point where it's an opportunity for all drivers to have an alternative to Uber that can make them more money. So according to the founder of the company, passengers are looking for the most affordable ride and also the most convenient ride. They want to be picked up quickly and they want to pay as little as possible. But they're also knowledgeable of the hurdles, the struggles that are facing the drivers. So when everything else is equal, when the rates are the same or cheaper, and when convenience is there, when there's enough drivers saturated in the market to pick them up, then they're going to go for the company that also cares the most about the drivers. And this is where Hover could really become a big player in the industry. But if they're going to be able to do that, they're going to have to go up against the likes of Uber, which is a cutthroat competitor, and we've seen what they did to Lyft in the past. After all, Lyft was originally going to be the nice guy. They wanted to treat drivers well, to treat passengers well, to have better rates, better pay for drivers, but Uber consistently undercut the market and Lyft had to keep up. They essentially had to match everything that Uber was doing. Otherwise, they were going to go out of business. So what would stop Uber from doing something just like this to Hover? Well, there's a couple of things that are different here. During that last saga, that battle between Uber and Lyft that happened early on, both of these companies were private. So investors in these private companies had put in money at a multiple in a seed round, maybe a few $1,000,000, and all they needed to do was to raise money at the next round, eventually go public to get their money out of that company. And before a company goes public, people don't really care about earnings per share, these metrics that we normally use to look at companies. What really matters is growth of the market share. How many people are on the app? How many eyeballs are on the app? In this case, how many passengers and drivers are on each app? So Uber could come in and they could cut rates in the markets that Lyft was in order to get more passengers on the app. This shows growth. Investors like growth. They would put more money into that private company, and eventually when it goes public, all of these investors can pull their money out. But things have changed. Now both of these companies are public. They have investors. They care about earnings per share. They can't just flood the market with cheap rates in order to cut out the competition, because that's going to hurt their earnings per share. It's not going to be increasing quarter over quarter. Revenue is going to decrease if they do that, and that's going to look bad for their business. So this might be an incredible opportunity for Hover and an opportunity for drivers to make more money. So how exactly does the Hover platform work? Well, as I mentioned, drivers are keeping 100% of their fares, but there are other fees tacked on top of these fares, like the platform fee, that's $1 per ride. There's a city fee, there's an insurance fee, there's a transaction fee. So there's other ways that Hover is making money here. So when I say 100% of fares, that does not mean 100% of the fee that passenger pays. There's a driver fare that's specifically dedicated to those drivers. They're keeping 100% of that. Still a lot better than those other apps like Uber and Lyft, because that fare is not going 100% to the passenger, and there's also the fees tacked on top of it. Now, Hover is able to do this using a membership model. So drivers are paying $20 per month in order to access this platform. And this really only works if Hover is able to put enough advertising dollars into this and scale it. There's enough drivers on the platform for passengers to have that efficiency part of the equation, because $20 is a lot to pay, even if you're making a lot of money as a rideshare driver, and there have to be enough passengers available, enough rides for pickup in order to justify that. Really, this has to be like one of the main apps you are using. There has to be a ton of volume on it in order for that to make sense. So here's what I'd like to see happen. I'd love to see a powerful grassroots campaign take hold and really watch this platform grow. Currently, it's only based in Canada, so a lot of my audience is here in the US. They would not have access to Hover, but if they were able to, really scale up with marketing without putting a ton of spend into it, we could see them, venture down here across south of the border into some US markets. With all that said, it's important to take this with a grain of salt. We have seen a lot of other companies come around like this, try to do similar things and fail. It is a really tough market to break into, and that ad spend is going to be one of the biggest hurdles for Hover to overcome. There's also a ton of comments that I read through of people who were excited about this, but also, a little bit skeptical about the Hover platform. People were saying things like humble beginnings until greed takes over, or, this is also how Uber and Lyft started, but, once they start taking a loss, they grow their market share, then they have the chance to really be greedy there and up their rates. So it is possible, that if the founder of this company really is just in it for the money, that he could increase rates down the road, or he could even just take some market share and then sell to Uber, who's going to continue doing what they're already doing right now. So let me know what your thoughts are. Leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. Do you think Hover has a shot? If they got into food delivery, would you consider delivering with Hover? I think a lot of my audience would definitely take a look at this. So yeah, love to hear from you guys. As always, like the video and subscribe to the channel for more.